Hello and welcome to the Story Behind the Stories, your weekly look at the pages of the Neepawa Banner Press. Thank you for taking a little bit of your time to spend with us. I'm Eoin Devereux, news and sports reporter with the Neepawa Banner Press, joined this week by Kira Paterson, news reporter with the Banner Press. Kira, good to have you in this week.
Sure.
You can just feel the enthusiasm.
Oh, so exciting.
I figured this is your first chance to see the newly revised and improved upon studio.
I haven't been in here since it's been completed. It looks really good.
That's right. It really did come together. We talked a little bit about it last week, and this is your first chance to sort of see it this week. So it's really came together.
Oh yeah, for sure. I kind of like how there's the blue in the carpet. You maybe can't see it, but it's almost the exact same blue as the curtain. It all kind of worked out. I don't know if they did that on purpose, but it sure looks nice.
It almost makes all the hammering and all that we heard behind that wall almost worth it.
So the funny thing is, sorry, I'm just going to digress for a second there, is that my desk is right beside, right like in front of this window that used to be there.
Sort of almost just
right behind
over my
head,
left
pretty
here,
much.
yeah.
And it's like facing the wall where this window was, and it was basically just covered by some insulation and this piece of cloth. And at one point they had been hammering and doing some stuff, and the insulation started coming out and the cloth started coming off the wall. And I was like, is this wall gonna fall on me? But it didn't.
Nope.
We were all good. It was fine. It was just kind of entertaining for a little bit.
Just for a moment there, just slowly but surely. You're very slowly going to get crushed, Kira.
No, I possibly couldn't have time to get out of the way from this falling slowly insulation.
And you're a tiny person as well, so that insulation, that styrofoam, still could have done some damage to you.
It could have crushed me.
But it came together nicely, and we're very proud and pleased that it's come together as it has.
Yeah.
Not only that, we're very proud and pleased with the way this new edition of the Banner and Press came together. And it's a huge one. Oh, it's a big one. 2 sections this week.
Yep.
We have our monthly Farmer's Advocate and the business behind buying the beef. The headline for the B section, you came up with that, Kira.
Yeah.
As well, you did the story as well. Talk to us a little bit about what's the meaning behind all that.
Yeah. So the headline I kind of played off a little bit on the bull sale that I'm talking about in the story. So the bull sale is called the Buy the Beef Bull Sale. It's for Jas Red Angus and Camo Cattle Co. And I talked to Jason McLaren, who is one of the owners of Jas Red Angus, and he gave us a little bit of a background behind what goes into the preparations for a bull sale and what kind of how the whole breeding bull stock goes. And I did the interview on TV as well, and it sure didn't really sound like I knew what I was talking about. I do have a little bit of background in cattle. My dad is a cattle farmer. He actually does have 3 or 4 of Jason's bulls for our stock. And so I do know a little bit about the business, but I really am not good with the terminology, so it doesn't sound like I know a lot about the business. But when I wrote it, it sounds a little better because I had some time to put some thought into how I put it. So so there's a little bit of a background on how all that comes together. The bull sale is coming up first Tuesday of April. So yeah, it's coming up fast, and there's some big bulls there on the McLaren farm. It's pretty cool to see. You can see them right on the front page of that second section.
Oh yeah, no, it really came together quite nicely. The story continues over onto page B2 as well. And there's a few different stories that we have in the B section that we're kind of happy about. Casper Warehound was able to talk to us about some support the Ducks Unlimited has recently received in regard to protecting Canada's biodiversity. And that's an interesting read in the farming industry. We got submitted items as well, some opinion pieces, stuff from Canada Food Grains, stuff about the pandemic and its impact on the ag sector. And just in general, I almost forgot, the Wayne Hildebrand one as well. Talking about, it's on page 7, talking about grazed pastures and their impact on songbirds. I had no idea about that, honestly.
Yeah, it's kind of cool to see. Like, I knew that obviously grasslands are a good place for a lot of wildlife because they are almost completely natural, other than the amount that the cows eat from it. But but yeah, they're pretty much natural pasture lands that you would, if there wasn't farming there, you would find other animals grazing there and whatnot. And obviously you'd find things like birds. And yeah, so obviously birds need that natural pasture land for somewhere to live, because if you just bulldoze all of those trees and all of those wild grass and stuff to grow your soybeans, then they're not going to have anywhere to live.
Exactly.
Nothing against soybeans. We do need all of those crops as well, but there is still a place for grasslands for sure.
Yep, and we are appreciative, Wayne, of putting that together for us. So it really is, this section was spot on this time out. And quite honestly, we were a little worried the first couple months of the Farmer's Advocate. We started it last month, and we are going to be continuing it every month up until November. And the first couple months, we thought, what are we going to talk about? It's going to be tough to sort of fill these 8 pages each and every time, but both so far I thought have come off pretty darn well. What do you think?
Oh yeah, I agree. Obviously it helps that this time of year is more geared towards cattle. There's the bull sales, there's calving, that kind of a thing. So I knew that there was some stuff, but obviously there's not as much resources out there for learning about that stuff and for getting information about that stuff as there is about all of the crops and the harvesting and all that kind of a thing, which comes later on in the year.
Yeah, and sitting at our desks a week out, it's just like, God, what are we going to do? What are we going to talk about? We got a few ideas here and there, but we're not 100% sure whether they'll fall through or whether they'll come through. And it all, for the second month in a row, really came together.
Oh yeah, it kind of all just falls in our lap sometimes. like our front page story. I did not have that on my radar, and then I think it was Cam Tibbett actually ended up contacting Ken and was like, we want to do a story about our bull sale and all that kind of a thing. And it's like, oh, okay, that'll be perfect for the Farmer's Advocate. Yep.
No, and if you have any story suggestions or ideas whatsoever for the Farmer's Advocate, it's going to be a few more weeks before we do the April edition, but we're starting to figure things out. We're going to gear things up a little bit, and it is going to get more hectic as we get into the seeding season. So if you have any suggestions whatsoever, we would love to hear from you. Obviously, we'll give the information at the end of the show, news at neepawabanner.com and all that. So we love to hear from you on that, because we're really proud of what we've been able to do with the Advocate so far. And we hope to continue to build on that momentum as the season continues to progress. All right, let's go over to our A section, our bread and butter, as it were. And that turned out a little bit more than we expected as well. 8 pages for the Advocate, 24 pages for our regular section. So it's and all the flyers as well, about a half dozen flyers. This is a beefy boy paper.
It's a big one.
Yeah, it's definitely. But the best part is, it turned out to be well worth it, because the 24 pages as well, there's not much filler. There's a little bit of filler. I'm not going to lie to you. A little bit of it is just filling space, but not as much as we thought.
Yeah, it's true.
So, it really played out nicely. And the front page, we have to thank Jody Baker for this beautiful picture of a sunset in the area. And right now, this might not be doing it justice. So you're going to have to pick up a hard copy of the Banner Press, or go to mywestman.com to see a bigger version of this picture. But it really was stupendous, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, she's been posting some crazy good photos lately. Like, she quite often gets some really good ones of the Northern Lights and stuff. And we did have one, somebody else's picture of Northern Lights once, and those tend to be a little bit trickier for us to print. But this sunset one, we thought, oh, that looks amazing, the colors in that. And we really hoped that we could do it justice. And it's sometimes hard because you do have to lighten it quite a bit for newsprint, so you're never quite sure if the colors are going to come out quite as vividly as her original picture. And I think that her original picture is still a little bit better, but this does do a pretty good job of showing just how beautifully colorful that sunset was that she was able to capture.
Yep, and again, here's the sort of science behind the scenes, as it were, when it comes to printing a paper. everything you see in this paper is just tiny dots, essentially. The tiny dots just go on there, and they form the letters, and they form the numbers, and they form the pictures. And when you put a tiny dot of ink on a piece of paper, it expands. So when it comes to pictures, sometimes that expansion muddies it up a little bit. So there's a few times where it's like you're hoping and praying that it's going to come through as you see it on a screen. And fortunately for this one, I think it really did. It came through. You can still see the different shades of purple. It really pops. So thank you very much, Jody, for that one. All right, inside, we got a lot of words.
A lot.
A lot of words. And that's why we needed Jody's picture on the front, because we have a lot of stories, but not all. We always try and put a very interesting, either a major significant story or a really interesting picture on our front page. That's what grabs you. That's what makes you think, oh, okay, maybe I need to pick up a copy of this and read through it and see what's going on. And all our stories, even though they're good stories, they're important stories, none of them had that pizzazz picture. So we were very pleased with that. And we're going to get into that shortly, but I'm getting ahead of myself. Next up, we're going to talk about Ken Waddell's column. He talks about COVID-19.
What? He's never done that before.
No, but
Sorry.
no, you pretty much hit the nail on the head. It's been something he's talked about a lot. But I will give him this. I'll grant him this. He's come at it from slightly different angles each and every time. Actually, now that I think about it. No, he has. He has. This one is a different perspective as well. He talks about the situation and how it could have been handled a little bit differently. And that's the thing. Even though it might feel like he's still talking about the same old, he's learning from the process, just like we all are. And he's adapting his mindset from it, just like we all are. At this time last year, we all had a certain thought about how this was going to play out. 6 months later, we all had a different thought, perhaps, or maybe we were still entrenched in what we believed. But as this has gone on, we've learned so much, and we've sort of added that information into how we've attacked the problem. And Ken as well. This time out, he sort of reviews the lockdown and how it could have been handled better. Again, the old saying, hindsight is 20/20. God, if I knew last year what I know now, I'd have invested a lot of money in Purell. Yeah, and like toilet paper, but you know.
Yeah, true. Lysol,
Yep.
you know.
But it just, I won't do it justice. I usually don't do Ken's columns justice when I try to explain them to you. So I'll just say, give it a read, give it a few minutes, and sort of share with Ken how this is all adapted and evolved over the year. Is there anything else you want to throw in there, Kira?
No, I agree. It's something that you have to read for yourself to actually get the full essence of it. So I think that we've got a lot of stuff to cover, so we better keep going.
You know, I'm sure whenever we do something like that, people are at home are going, "You didn't read it." Did you?" We did read it.
True.
We do have to read every single page and every single word when we do editing and sort of the final look over to make sure. So we did, we have, and hopefully you will too. All right. We try not to go too in depth into the COVID stuff. It feels like it's overkill sometimes, and we want to share all the stories of our region, but there are important stories about the situation that we do have to talk about. And Kira, you tracked down some new information, in fact, in regard to the vaccines and distribution.
Yeah.
Talk to us about that.
Yeah, so vaccines, that's kind of good news. I mean, obviously there are some hiccups with the whole process and stuff, but there was a little bit of good news for Gladstone, because the Gladstone pharmacy actually got a little bit of an allocation of the AstraZeneca vaccine. And when I say a little bit, it was a very small amount. They got 50 doses,
Yep.
and they ran out of it in one day. But that is 50 more people that are vaccinated in our area, so that's really exciting to hear. They don't know when exactly they'll be getting their next allocation, so that pretty much the essence of the story is they got some, they were able to get it out, which is awesome, and now they're just waiting on a few more. And then there's a similar story on a couple pages later that is about the Beautiful Plains Community Medical Clinic in Neepawa and how they are preparing for getting vaccines. I had a little bit of a story on Harris Pharmacy last week, how they're preparing, but they don't know if or when they will get vaccines. Beautiful Plains Clinic is kind of in the same boat. I talked to Dr. Nichelle Desolé, and she went into a little bit of detail about how they prepared, about what the eligibility is for the AstraZeneca, and all that kind of a thing. So there is some really good information about vaccines in general, and about where you can find more information, and about how Beautiful Plains Clinic is going to be rolling out vaccines once they do get some. And just reiterating, they don't have any yet, so don't try to call them.
Right.
Because they have been getting quite a few calls about trying to get appointments, and as if they don't have the vaccine, they can't make an appointment for you yet.
Exactly. So. No, it's good to hear, and it's good to share that information as well. And we were talking about this last week or so, just how the age has slowly dropped in terms of who's eligible for that. And it was very interesting. It seemed like every other day, first the age was 75, then 73, then 71, then 68, then 65, or something along those lines. It was like, oh my God. So we actually ended up doing the math in the back there. I'm not going to share my age with you, but let me just say I'm very much looking forward to April 10th, because in and around that time, if this consistent sort of number keeps going downward as it has been, I'll be able to make an appointment on that day. Well, maybe not for that day, because my parents, their age just got hit 75 recently, and they were able to make an appointment. They put a call in, they waited for about an hour, and then they decided, I'm tired of waiting, so they gave the information for a call back. 45 minutes later, they got the call back, and they got the appointment set for April 9th in Brandon at the super site. They're getting the Pfizer one, the good one, as my father sort of intimated. But they're all good. They're all good, just levels of good. But yeah, April 9th, they'll be getting it. And slowly but surely, people are getting the vaccines. We're going to finally sort of get closer and closer to herd immunity. I know there's a lot of people who say they won't get it. That's your choice on that. You have to do what you think is right in this situation, free will and all that. I'm going to go with the scientists on this first, but again, maybe not. I'm still a little iffy, I'll be honest, on the AstraZeneca one. You hear all the bad news on that. And the worries about what's going on in Europe, it's a little, but quite honestly, if I got a shot at the Pfizer right now, okay, that's not how it would be in the shoulder.
Yeah, it goes into your muscle, not into your blood.
That's right. So hopefully we do get herd immunity. Enough people see the value in it and get it done. Yeah. Anything else you want to add on that story, or just in regard to the distribution?
Not really. I mean, I've heard that there are some super sites that aren't taking any appointments right now, such as Brandon, because they're out.
Yeah.
So really, we're just hoping that more shipments will come in and they will be able to start taking appointments again, and then that age group from 65, I think is what it is right now, will be able to continue dropping, because I personally cannot wait to get vaccinated and go and do things.
That's the thing as well. You hear, they haven't made it official yet, but you hear that in terms of travel, you might have to do a vaccine passport type thing.
Yeah, exactly.
And I was listening to CGOB yesterday afternoon as well, and they were talking about you can actually go onto a website once you've had your shot, and you can print off, essentially.
Okay, like a certificate.
Yeah, a certificate that says, hey, I've got it. I'm good to go. Yep.
Yeah. And
So-
I mean, I have to be honest, that would be one of the reasons that I would want to get vaccinated, because I do want to be able to leave this country once in a while. Nothing
wanna
wrong
get
with
the
Canada, but
You want to get the heck out of here.
true.
Yep. Saved up all this money from being stuck inside.
Exactly.
You are ready to go abroad.
And I'll be gone. No.
And I will still be here. Anyway,
Moving on.
let's talk a little bit about some municipal politics. First, a little closer to home, with the town of Neepawa. Their town council meeting occurred on the 16th of March. It was sometimes the town council meetings are not all car chases and action film. Surprise, surprise. Sometimes they're boring. But the work that needs to get done is still very important, even if it's not sort of that big ticket item type stuff. Like this, for example. There was a Brandon developer who wanted to put a new house on a lot they purchased over on First Avenue, the 200 block of First Avenue. The house that's there right now, it's really beat up, it's really old, and it's fallen apart. It would cost more to fix it than putting a new one on there. But the lot, it's a weirdly shaped lot. It's like 35 by 65 feet. So they wanted to put a 2-story house on there, about 540 square feet on the main floor, 540 square feet on the second floor, so over 1,000 square feet. But Neepawa's bylaws and regulations require that the main floor has to be about 800. I am paraphrasing a little bit, so I might not be sort of getting it right, but the essence of it is 800 square feet is required on the main floor. So it was rejected. And by the rule of law, yes, it should have been rejected. But it is disappointing to a degree on a personal level. I looked into those, that fad of tiny homes? I looked into that a couple years ago because I live in a small little area. I live, essentially I use the bedroom, the bathroom, and the kitchen in the area. And that's about it. So I can live in a small spot. I don't need an entire house to myself. And a lot of people are like that, but there's not that option here in Neepawa. So people got to buy the full big house if they want something like that. I'm meandering here. I'll throw it to you, Kira. I'm an old man yelling at a cloud right now. What's
As
your
usual.
Yeah, what's your takeaway?
No, that is really disappointing, and I understand that there is the bylaw. One thing I don't really understand is why there's bylaws like that. Like, I'm not really sure what the rationale behind that is, but I do not have like a municipal head, so I don't really know things like that.
I can explain that. The
Okay.
reason is a town wants consistency, because otherwise you've got a 2,000 square foot house, a 300 square foot house right next to that. It looks weird. So having that level of consistency is what they want.
So it's all about looks, really. It's got to look nice. Is that what it is?
Why do you have to be so into looks, Neepawa? Come on.
So superficial.
What about the inner beauty of houses? But if you want to find out a little bit more, that's on page 2. And we also got a little bit of an update slightly about the dog park. Remember about 4 years ago, people wanted a dog park in Neepawa, and everybody wanted something, and we had some land set aside, and then it just disappeared. There was an individual who brought up the discussion again. It's like, hey, what's happening with the dog park? And the town council went, hey, this is what's going on. And then the guy went, hey, well, we should do something about that. And hey, and you can find that information on page 2.
I don't know what kind of character you're doing now, but
No, this is just me stretching for time.
okay, sure.
Yeah,
Okay.
so that's town council. Next up, we're going to go a little further down the road to the community of Mendoza. They've released details on their budget for 2021, and boy, oh boy, it's a big number. It's a surprising number, but it's for all the right things, I thought. They're going forward on a lot of road reconstruction and improvements, which is wonderful to see. Their municipal budget is pegged at just over $11 million right now. The taxes that'll cover that is 4.7 because they get other revenues, they get other supports from other avenues that cover the rest of it. And the biggest ticket item is the new arena that they're planning. $9 million is what they're planning for the arena. They've already got a bunch of money saved up. People have fundraised and done a lot of things for that. They're getting a grants as well, and they're taking out a loan that they'll pay back over the next 20 years. So they're going to get serious about the arena. Now I'm looking forward to it. The Meadows Arena right now that they have, it's an old wood barn, and it's got a lot of charm, but at the same time, oh my God, it's so cold in there.
Would be nice to have a little bit of heat and insulation, eh?
Yep, it would be nice, and I hope they're able to move forward on this in a prompt manner, because I'd look forward to seeing some hockey when hockey becomes a thing again.
Yeah, well, that's one thing that kind of is exciting that comes from town council meetings and stuff like that. Quite often, all the money goes towards things that you don't really see or aren't really exciting, like fixing roads and putting more into sewage and all this infrastructure and stuff. And it's like, okay, I guess we need that stuff, but that's not exciting. But when it's like a new arena, it's like, ooh,
Yep.
It's a gift for the town.
Having said that, though, and you probably bring that up because Neepawa over the last few years has put a lot of money into sewer and water. And, nobody notices it until it goes wrong.
Yeah,
So I haven't noticed it go wrong, so kudos to Neepawa for putting the investment into that.
Exactly,
Yep.
yeah.
All right, we're running a little low on time, so we're just going to talk very quickly about a story I wrote up about Dan Mazur, our Member of Parliament, who participated recently in the virtual convention for the Conservative Party of Canada. And he talks about some of the things that went on in the convention, some of the things he liked, some of the things he didn't like, and just how it was presented in his estimation. He likes what the leader of the party, Eoin O'Toole, was able to do in terms of showing what the platform for the party is going to be for the upcoming election. And let's not kid ourselves. There is going to be an election in the spring. I will put money on it right now. I just got that vibe. Kira, are you looking forward to democracy?
I feel like we just went through this twice, like a year ago.
And the worst part is we'll probably, spoiler alert, we'll probably end up in the exact same place we are right now, probably a liberal minority right now. But who knows? I mean, there might be a big surprise that comes out of nowhere and turns out the Green Party wins everything. Or somehow the Bloc wins Alberta. We're not sure. It'll happen. Something's going to happen. And Dan goes through that and talks about that. So if you want to get caught up on your local politics on a grand scale, definitely give that a once-over. There's so much more we could have talked about, but time is just so
fleeting.
Fleeting, yes. That's why you got to check it out. 24 pages in the A section, 8 pages in the B section. It's huge.
Set aside your whole weekend to read this paper.
Because it's going to be cold, apparently. I put away all my winter sweaters, and I changed my winter tires, so this weather's my bad. I'm sorry about that. Kira's just giving me the shame look right now. Yeah.
We knew this was going to happen. As soon as he said, I'm booking an appointment to get my winter tires taken off, I'm like, okay, well, now it's going to be winter again.
They warned me, and my bad.
He's supposed to keep his winter tires on all the way until like June, and then we'll be safe. But never listens.
I'll learn next time. And again, Kira, thank you very much for taking some time out to be on the show this week.
Sure, yeah. I mean, it's not like I have a choice, but
And thank you, because you have a choice to tune into this show. And you do, for some reason, despite our silliness. Or perhaps because of our silliness. Either way, we appreciate it. And if you want to get in touch with us with a news story idea or anything like that, contact us at news@neepawabanner.com or at 476-3401. So for Kira, I am Eoin Devereux, and we thank you very much for taking a little bit of time and tuning in to the story behind the stories.